So you've probably noticed in your conversations with friends, as well as in perhaps your own relationship, that in the area of connection, sex, and intimacy, it has become the norm for partners and couples in long-term romantic relationships to feel unfulfilled in this area. Whether it's because they want more meaningful connection, deeper intimacy, or just better sex, it seems like these three qualities are out of reach. But what I want you to know today is that it does not need to be the case. In fact, your capacity for better sex, more meaningful connection, and deeper intimacy lies in your ability to access your capacity for that better, deeper, higher sex, connection, and intimacy within yourself first. It is then able to be accessed within your romantic relationship. And the reason most people have trouble accessing these deep yearnings and desires for better sex, connection, and intimacy is because they simply don't have the capacity for it. So this sets you up for failure, because if you think it's because of your partner or your relationship, it means that once you get to a particular bottleneck within your own capacity for sex, connection, and intimacy, you then think that you need to find it in someone else. And then you find someone else and you will reach your capacity again, because the answer is about depth. It's about finding the depth and the capacity for that deeper, better, higher experience of sex, connection, and intimacy within yourself first, and then bringing that into your relationship. So you are the person who comes into all of your relationships. If you want to have a better experience of these qualities, it starts with you. This is great news, because if you're in a relationship right now, it means that you don't need to change your partner. And if you're not in a relationship right now, it will probably bring you a sense of comfort knowing that you can choose a partner, and your sex life, your sense of connection, and your intimacy together can get better over time, despite the many examples around you that tell you otherwise. Welcome to Relate Higher, a podcast dedicated to providing the leading standard in conscious higher relating and to teaching you a conscious framework for all of your relationships. This is your go-to resource for developing meaningful, conscious relationships across your life. I'm your host, award-winning relationship coach and consultant and former family lawyer, Leticia Ringe. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In today's episode, I'm introducing you to the fourth C for a conscious, thriving romantic relationship, which just means a relationship in which you have the capacity to experience a thriving, successful, satisfying, deeply fulfilling romantic relationship. The fourth C is connection, sex, and intimacy. In a romantic relationship, we simply need to feel like we are connected, that we are experiencing a level of closeness, familiarity, and intimacy with our partner, and also we are engaging in some sort of sexual experience with the other person, however it's defined in your eyes. But in this area, most of us begin perhaps the relationship feeling like we've got this area covered. And then over time, our general sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in terms of connection, sex, and intimacy tends to fade. And there's a reason for this. It's because initially in a relationship, we are really relying upon the newness of the relationship, which heightens our sense of arousal and excitement, which makes connecting and feeling intimate, being intimate, and experiencing sexual fulfillment that much more attainable. But that arousal state is never going to stay around forever. Over time, your partner isn't new anymore. But if you are used to that superficial newness being what provides the connection, sex, and intimacy that you desire, you're just setting yourself up to have a capacity that remains at that level. You have the capacity to go much deeper, to experience something so far deeper and beyond the initial honeymoon phase of a relationship, where you are experiencing connection, intimacy, and sex on a level where you are deeply able to know your partner, to know yourself, to experience your partner, to experience yourself. Something that is only available because you have been in a relationship over a longer period of time. Many people never get there, but in this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can, so that you can stop trying to find your sexual fantasies or that meaningful connection and deep intimacy you crave in television or the movies or in your fantasies or in the possibility of some new person in the future. And instead, you can learn to access it within yourself and within your romantic relationship, no matter how long your romantic relationship lasts. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about 4 things. First of all, what is it that we really want when we want better connection, better sex, and better intimacy? And then secondly, why do we want those things? Thirdly, we'll talk about how you actually create what you want. And finally, we'll talk about what you can use with what you create through connection, sex, and intimacy with your romantic partner. First things first, what is it? It is so important that you define what you actually are wanting from connection, from sex, and from intimacy with your partner. Now, because you're a human and so is your partner, this will change depending on the day, the moment, the time and season within your romantic relationship, and that is okay. But the way that most of us approach connection, sex, and intimacy is we use these terms and we think we know what they mean, but we don't actually know what we're wanting in this particular moment, interaction of connection, sex, or intimacy with our partner. Rarely do we have conversations with our partner about what we're wanting because we haven't had the conversation with ourselves first. So step number 1 for better sex, better connection, and better intimacy is to ask yourself, what is it that I want here? Now, you might come up with emotional words or qualities. Words that I hear often are, I want to feel seen. I want pleasure. I want arousal. I want to feel known. I want to share an experience with my partner. Whatever the word is for you, it really doesn't matter. You get to make your own definition. And I truly believe that one of the biggest barriers to having the sex, intimacy, and connection that really deeply fulfills us is simply this first step. We just haven't asked ourselves the question to understand what it is we really want. Now, if you're a woman and you're in your menstrual cycle years, your experience of what feels like good sex, for instance, will be different based on the hormonal phase you're in within your menstrual cycle. So if you're not aware of that, that is something you might want to look into, because that will help you see that even just within one human being, one woman, throughout the course of one menstrual cycle, there are going to be different aspects of sex that you feel drawn to, different aspects of connection, different aspects of intimacy. Now, when I'm talking about connection and intimacy, I'm talking about it in the grand scheme. It could be conversations, it could be physical touch, it could be just purely platonic. It can be anything that falls within the definition to you of what makes you feel connected, of what you believe a sexual experience is, and of what feels intimate to you. You get to make it up. You get to make your own definition, and that's a beautiful thing. But you've got to ask yourself what it is to you. So first things first, get really clear. And whatever answer you give to yourself, you want to ask yourself, what does that actually mean? For instance, maybe in a experience of connection, you want spontaneity. Well, what does spontaneity actually mean today? What is it that I'm actually craving? How will I know I've actually achieved that? When you know what it is you want to create, you can get intentional about creating that. And then, of course, you would have a conversation with your partner about what it is you're wanting to create and what they're wanting to create. And with that conversation, you both have way more clarity and you come together using your collaborative creative powers to create an experience for one another. Okay, your second step is to ask yourself, why do I want those things? So whatever your answer was for step 1 about what it is you actually want to experience, you then want to ask yourself why. Why do I want that thing? So let's say you want to connect with your partner. You're craving more meaningful connection. And you ask yourself, what does that even mean? And you discover that through meaningful connection, I just want to be seen and I want to see. That is what meaningful connection feels like me today in this moment. You then want to follow up with the question, why do I want that? Now, you can reflect on moments in your life where you felt fully seen, where you felt meaningfully connected in this way that makes you feel fully seen and where you get to see others. Ask yourself, why was that so powerful for you? What did you get from that experience? And you might realize that what I got was actually feeling accepted. What I got was a sense of belonging. What I got was a sense of feeling nourished and fueled and alive. It doesn't matter what words come up for you. What matters is you understand what you're truly craving through the connection or through the sexual experience with your partner or through the intimacy. But almost everyone doesn't ask these questions of themselves, and therefore that's why you never feel fulfilled and satisfied. It is a lack of self-awareness that is our biggest block to creating the sexual satisfaction and fulfillment we desire, the meaningful connection we desire, and the deeper intimacy we desire. Okay, then our third step is to understand how you actually get there. So there's 3 essential pieces to this. The first is we want intention. Through asking yourself what it is you want and why you want it, you now have everything you need to set an intention for the connection, the sexual experience, or the intimacy moment that you're going to have with your partner. The second piece is that you then need to embody what it is you're wanting. So your capacity for what you're able to experience will be bottlenecked by your own embodiment of that particular quality. So for instance, going with the first example where you wanted more meaningful connection, you realize that what you're really wanting when you say that is to feel seen. And the reason you want that is because it gives you a sense of acceptance and belonging. Now you can ask yourself, what does it feel like within my body when I feel like I belong, when I feel accepted, when I feel seen? And what do I need within myself in order to allow myself to experience these qualities with my partner? Because not only is there the embodiment piece within yourself, there is also then the further opening up of yourself to embody those particular qualities with another person. In this case, it's your partner. So your embodiment and your capacity for embodiment will become the bottleneck to your experience. And most of us completely overlook this. We put all of the power in someone else. First of all, we don't even know what we want, but we're saying, hey, I'm not satisfied here. I want something more and I just don't know what. Or we go and watch TV and we see the fantasy of what someone else is experiencing and we say we want that and we think it's the form that we want. But we're not really doing the self-inquiry to ask, what is it that I'm feeling through watching that I think I'm not getting? And then the next really important part is then, do I even have the capacity to experience that? Am I shutting myself off and blocking myself from being able to experience that particular quality because of the thoughts that I'm telling myself about the availability of that quality to me? Or because my body just doesn't feel safe experiencing that? Or maybe I don't feel safe allowing myself to open and be vulnerable to experience that kind of connection, that kind of intimacy, that kind of sexual experience with my partner. This is where the skills that you've been learning so far in this podcast, as well as this series on the podcast, are really, really helpful. understanding what you want and need in a relationship, learning self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love, really important to the embodiment piece. And then on a practical sense, understanding conscious communication, conscious conflict, conscious commitment, understanding radical honesty, radical vulnerability, the 12 principles to a conscious relationship. These skills, these principles, these processes, they help you to expand your capacity so that you're actually able to experience what it is you're deeply yearning. So how you create what you want here is you're clear on your intention. You're then looking at your own embodiment within yourself, and then as you imagine sharing that particular experience and quality with your partner, what do you need to be prepared to invite your partner into this experience? And then the third piece of this process is then obviously the shared experience with your partner, where you actually invite them in. This is where what we've learned in the episode I did about conscious communication really comes into play. This might feel like an uncomfortable conversation to have with your partner, but what you want to be doing is consciously communicating with your partner to understand, first of all, what you're really wanting, and then also to understand what they're really wanting, and then being able to come together as a team and as a collaborative unit together to create something that will take both of you to an even deeper place together than what you can go with just yourself. But it's all because of the intention and your own embodiment in the first place. So that shared experience, if you're experiencing a block to your capacity to experience the depth that you're after, the experience that you're after, the excitement, the desire, the fulfillment, the satisfaction that you desire, instead of looking to that shared experience first and pointing your finger at your partner as the problem or your relationship as the problem, as your dynamic as the problem, go back to this first piece. Get clear on what it is you're wanting and why you want that. And then move to the embodiment piece so that you can clear out any blocks that are getting in the way of your own capacity to experience that quality or even just that experience with your partner. And then you're also clearing out the blocks and equipping yourself with the skills so that you actually have the capacity to open, which is what connection is, to open to that connection, to that experience with your partner, and share it at the level that you actually desire. And then lastly, we're then inviting our partner into that experience. We're sharing with them what it is we're wanting. We're listening to what they're wanting. And we've done the work to be prepared. We're probably allowing our partner to do their work to prepare. And then we're coming together for a shared experience of that particular quality. And perhaps you've also then developed it even more through your conversation with your partner. So now you have an even clearer intention where either they're creating an experience for you, or perhaps you're both creating a new experience that has evolved out of that original intention and seed that you planted. This is the potential we all have within our romantic relationships, but most of us have never and will never experience this. Instead, we're so focused on the form. We're so focused on what we see other people doing or it needing to happen in a new relationship or with another person, instead of being able to access that depth, that deeper satisfaction and fulfillment we're craving through going another layer into ourselves first. Now, finally, step 4, which I want to explore with you, is what do we do with what we create together? Too often we think only about the experience with our partner. We don't think about the intention, as we've discussed. We rarely think about our own embodiment and us being the bottleneck for what we can experience. We just focus on the experience we have as if we just have the experience and then it's done. But what you create in that shared experience with your partner, as you'll probably find, is some sort of activation. You're activated, you're opened up, you're turned on, you're aroused, you're experiencing an aliveness, energy that you've created through that experience with each other. So what happens with that? Well, it fuels you, it nourishes you, you can bring that into your life, that energy that you've created. Sometimes it literally creates a human. Maybe you bring that into your work life, into your health. There's an energy that's created when you come together. So that energy can be used to fuel and nurture your life. But I also want you to know that that energy can also be incredibly healing. So it could be that there is a particular quality that you really want to know and experience within yourself. And you believe your ability to experience that lies in the hands of another person and or your partner, or perhaps you just think that particular quality is completely out of reach. You can actually use an experience of connection or of intimacy or of sex to actually experience and get to know that quality. You can set an intention initially, get your clarity on what that particular quality is, what your understanding is, what the gaps are. You can ask yourself why you want it to make that intention even more powerful. You can explore your own capacity for that within yourself. You can start to embody what you do know. You can prepare to open yourself up to explore that with your partner. And then you can actually bring that into the experience with your partner, where together you're exploring something that might have felt out of reach, so that you have an actual physical experience of that quality where you get to know it in a deeper way. And then you use that energy and that experience that you've created together, that new understanding of that quality, and it's actually healed something for you. It's transcended something. It's added something to you. You now have learned something in a way that has been experienced that you will never be able to forget. This is why embodiment exercises are so powerful, but we can embody and use the idea of embodiment in a very broad way. In fact, physical movement is a really, really powerful way to learn and understand concepts that can feel completely out of reach. You can think about the same thing when you think about connecting with your partner. If there's something that you're really, really desiring, it feels out of reach, you can explore that through a container with your partner for connection or for sex and for intimacy. So not only is connection, sex, and intimacy revitalizing and fueling and nourishing for our life, but it can also be incredibly healing and lead to growth. And I would say it's one of the more fun ways to approaching your personal growth and development, because let's be real, everything that you're learning here in terms of conscious relationships is also relatable to every other area in your life. I used to teach a lot of these concepts just in a slightly different way under the area of business. It's all about your own personal growth and development as an individual and as a human. It's just so much more fun when you're doing it within your romantic life and relationship. And there's also just so much you can create when you've got another person who's also exploring this with you. So relationships don't need to be boring. They don't need to be unfulfilling and unsatisfying. In fact, a long-term relationship has more potential, in my opinion, to experiencing better sex, connection, and intimacy because of the long time of knowing one another, your ability to go deeper because of that long time. Commitment creates a deeper sense of safety that you're just not going to experience when you're out having short-term relationships with other people. And the power of that communication, that ability to manage conflict over time in a conscious and healthy way, as well as your ability to really rely on and trust and be committed to your commitments together. This sets you up with an environment that will allow you both to feel safe to continue opening together, because really that's what connection, sex, and intimacy is. It's about opening yourself up in some way to something new that you're experiencing within yourself and your relationship, opening yourself up to another person, and opening yourself up to yourself. Okay, so let's summarize what we've learned in today's episode. Connection, sex, and intimacy is one of the fundamental C's to a conscious romantic relationship. Connection, sex, and intimacy is capped by our own capacity to experience the deeper sex, connection, and intimacy that we desire. This is the biggest block to experiencing meaningful connection, better sex, and deeper intimacy. So the way that you create it is through knowing what it is you want to to experience and knowing that that changes from moment to moment. It's about understanding why you want those things. It's then about understanding how to embody and expand your capacity within yourself for experiencing those particular qualities that you want to experience within your connection, sex, and intimacy together. And then finally, it is about then bringing that to your partner with that preparation of your own embodiment, your own opening and preparation for the experience, as well as that intention, combining forces and then sharing that experience with your partner. Finally, we talked about what you actually do with that energy. Not only does it fuel and nourish you as individuals and provide fuel and new energy for your life, and also can lead to creating new life itself, it also has the potential to be incredibly healing as well as supporting your growth. So this is what you have available to you, and you find it through taking a deeper rather than a wider approach. If you'd love to know more about creating a conscious romantic relationship and going deeper into your sex, intimacy, and connection as a couple, whether you're in a relationship right now or whether you're single and in between relationships, this is the work I do with my clients in my conscious relationship coaching program. You can apply at relatehigher.com/CRCP. I work with individuals and couples, supporting you in a bespoke, completely tailored program for you and for your partner if your partner also wants to do it and you're in a relationship, so that you can create the thriving romantic relationship and life that you desire. All right, my friends, in our next episode, I'll be introducing you to the 5th C of a conscious romantic relationship. In this episode, we'll be talking all about collaboration and co-creation. This is an amazing subject. I can't wait to talk with you about it. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Relate Higher, your go-to resource for learning how to consciously approach all of your relationships. To deepen your learning and practice, make sure you're subscribed to receive the Relate Higher community newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter sent to you every Monday, providing further coaching and education to support your relationships. Subscribe at relatehigher.com/community. And if you haven't yet left a 5-star review for the podcast, we ask that you please do that now so that this podcast can reach other listeners who also want to learn and practice conscious higher relating. Because remember, the more people who learn, the better relationships we all enjoy.